working. Here we go. So we are reading from chapter 15, the holy instant. We're looking at the holy instant from a number of different angles. Today, we'll be looking at it from the angle of littleness versus magnitude. And I think you'll find this to be a real treasure. I want to thank Brother David S. for being our reader today.
Be not content with littleness, but be sure you understand what littleness is and why you could never be content with it. Littleness is the offering you give yourself. You offer this in place of magnitude, and you accept it. Everything in this world is little because it is a world made out of littleness, in the strange belief that littleness can content you. When you strive for anything in this world in the belief that it will bring you peace, you are belittling yourself and blinding yourself to glory. Littleness and glory are the choices open to your striving and your vigilance. You will always choose one at the expense of the other.
So we are encouraged to be sure we understand what littleness is, because most of us weren't brought up with that understanding of what littleness is. Matter of fact, we thought it was normal. And many people tell you, I didn't know there was an alternative. Be sure we understand what littleness is. Littleness is next to nothingness. It's a state of scarcity and depravity, a lack of love, a lack of abundance, a lack of the gifts of life. So littleness is commonly practiced, and the real error is the trying to be content in your littleness, trying to settle or make do with a little view of self, a little view of life. The fact that little attitudes and ideas exist is in itself just true of the ego teaching. But to think you could be content with littleness is a grave error, and an error that can be corrected. And that's what we're focused on today, is recognizing it's an error and it's easy to correct. By the way, the world will encourage you to remain little, so you can't look there for guidance to make another choice. David?
Yet what you do not realize each time you choose is that your choice is your evaluation of yourself. Choose littleness and you will not have peace, for you will have judged yourself unworthy of it. And whatever you offer as a substitute is much too poor a gift to satisfy you. It is essential that you accept the fact, and accept it gladly, that there is no form of littleness that can ever content you. You are free to try as many as you wish, but all you will be doing is to delay your homecoming, for you will be content only in magnitude, which is your home.
Mm-hmm. So, as we said, the real tragedy is to believe you can be content with littleness. And when we fall for that lie, that mistake, then we identify with littleness. It becomes a false concept of ourself, an evaluation of ourself. It's a falseness. It's the opposite of the truth of our magnitude, we are as God created us. And so then, having identified ourselves as being little, we then look at life in terms of little perspectives and think of others in terms of littleness. And it goes on and on and on, spreads, and really isn't helpful at all. So, and here's the thing, we would have judged ourselves as unworthy of the gifts of glory, the gifts of peace and love. We'll think of ourselves in terms of little expectations, which means that we're not worthy of the gifts of heaven. So this becomes deeply woven into our psychological profile, and therefore it does become a prison from which follows us around wherever we go. This can easily be undone when we recognize that there's an alternative. Couple hands up here. Noel?
So littleness is characterized by the world's values, by idols, would you say? By all the value we've put on all the stuff that we think we want. Yes?
Yes, yes. Yeah, it's a stance or a frame of reference that encompasses the way we look at everything. So as you said, Noel, it's the world's standards for lower expectations. To be content, falsely content in a state that lacks love, that lacks the gifts of heaven. Sandra?
I would like to ask if it's okay, because I am working with victim mentality. And if it's okay, can I read that first paragraph superimposing the word victim for littleness?
Okay. We'll give it a try.
Okay, thank you. I think it would help me.
So what is it you're proposing? You want to read it?
We go back to that first paragraph, that very first, be not content with victimization, but be sure you understand what victimization is and why you could never be content with it. Victimization is the offering you give yourself. You offer this in place of magnitude and you accept it. Everything in this world is victimization because it is a world made out of victimization, in the strange belief that victimization can content you. When you strive for anything in this world in the belief that it will bring you peace, you are victimizing yourself and blinding yourself to glory. Victimization and glory are the choices open to you, to your striving and your vigilance. You will always choose one at the expense of the other.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. You're welcome. Yeah, a lot of times those substitutions, which you just did, substituted symbols, can be helpful in gaining for us to gain access in a way that our mind is ready for at that time. So yeah, that's why we substitute hims and hers, and we substitute. These are all symbols. And if one is not easily appreciated, accepted by your mind, then we look for others. We're not making theology out of symbols. All right, we'll go on.
Be content only in magnitude, which is your home. There is a deep responsibility you owe yourself, and one you must learn to remember all the time. The lesson may seem hard at first, but you will learn to love it when you realize that it is true and is but a tribute to your power. You who have sought and found littleness, remember this. Every decision you make stems from what you think you are and represents the value that you put upon yourself. Believe the little can content you, and by limiting yourself, you will not be satisfied. For your function is not little, and it is only by finding your function and fulfilling it that you can escape from littleness.
Mhm. So this frame of reference, littleness versus magnitude, has significant implications for, here it refers to it as a deep responsibility you owe yourself and must learn to remember. Even before class started, we were talking about the importance of remembering. At first, remembering it consistently may seem hard, but this is really for your own well-being. Imagine shifting from being content with littleness and misery to shifting out of that to being content only with peace and happiness and forgiveness. Why is this significant to your life? Because every decision you make stems from the way you view yourself, how you define yourself. We'll refer to it as the frame of reference you use to look at yourself, either through the eyes of littleness or through magnitude. And so that affects every decision you make, and that affects also how you see your purpose. What am I here for? My relationships, my living, what function does it serve? All these things shift when we view ourselves no longer through the eyes of littleness, but through magnitude. Felicia? You need help?
There, sorry. You can hear me, right?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, this is really speaking to me about, because before I knew anything about the course, littleness I really related to. In other words, like, okay, yeah, I know what this is, but so since I started studying the course and started asking for the Holy Spirit's guidance in my life and everything, I've been able, David's story really touched me. Okay, about how you react differently now, and how that moment of where he forgot who he was, because we still have those moments. We get wrapped up, or the ego grabs us, just for an instant, when we have, I don't know how to put it into words, maybe let our guard down, where we get wrapped up in something else. But, to be able to learn to go from fear to love, when you look at things, or, to learn what our purpose is, which is forgiveness for me. I think that's what the Course tells us. That's what our purpose is to forgive. And, but I just wanted to share that, I'm just really enjoying this reading, and really glad that I could make it today. Yeah. So thanks.
Yeah. I'm so glad you could make it as well, Felicia. Thank you. I see a bunch of hearts going up when you shared. Noel?
Two things. We don't realize or give ourselves credit for how magnificent we are as spiritual beings. And two, maybe it's also related to motive. Example, when I am moved to do something, what is my underlying motive? Is it to show, for example, the other person how right I am, how spiritual I am, to correct their errors of thought? Or is it to forgive myself for seeing them as an incomplete being?
It does. It does. It does affect motive. Every decision you make stems from how you value yourself and what it is you think you need in any given situation. So it's very foundational. This is a deep responsibility you owe yourself to be aware of the error of littleness and to learn to remember that it need not be, that we can choose magnitude. Kim?
So I've actually been working with somebody on this exact thing. And what has been brought to my attention is that regarding my purpose, the magnitude of my purpose is so big that I use littleness subconsciously to keep myself safe around this purpose. And so what I'm learning to do is look at it and not have that fear, give that fear immediately to God, and realize that the only way to full contentment around this is to fulfill this purpose, which is big. It's not little, it's big.
Kim, that was very clear. Thank you. Yes, littleness can become a defense mechanism that seems to keep us safe. Really keeps us stuck in what was without moving forward. So we're talking about this shift enables you to find your true function, which is not in littleness, but in magnitude. This is important because it affects how you live your life. Dave?
There is no doubt about what your function is, for the Holy Spirit knows what it is. There is no doubt about its magnitude, for it reaches you through him from magnitude. You do not have to strive for it because you have it. All your striving must be directed against littleness, for it does require vigilance to protect your magnitude in this world. To hold your magnitude in perfect awareness in a world of littleness is a task the little cannot undertake. Yet it is asked of you in tribute to your magnitude and not your littleness. Nor is it asked of you alone. The power of God will support every effort you make on behalf of his dear Son. Search for the little, and you deny yourself his power. God is not willing that his Son be content with less than everything, for he is not content without his Son, and his Son cannot be content with less than his Father has given him.
Mm-hmm. So when we say magnitude, which is not an idea that has been widely appreciated and recognized and remembered, what we mean is a magnitude that comes through the Holy Spirit to us. It's an awareness of magnitude, which is tied into the power of God within us. So we would really say the power is here already, but our awareness has not been consistent with that. And so we'll bring our awareness to it. And of all the things that I think are lessons to remember about this reading today, it says it right here, all your striving, your effortfulness must be directed against littleness. Talking about mind training, because it requires vigilance to protect your identification with magnitude when you're surrounded by a world that's focused on littleness. It does require vigilance to protect your awareness of magnitude in a little world, a world that believes itself to be little. So it's, and this is a task you cannot do by yourself. So make this easy. You cannot remember your magnitude consistently going at it alone. You join with the power within you to remember your magnitude. Otherwise, if you separate and try to do it over yourself, then you're using a little approach to try to gain awareness of magnitude, which doesn't work. Susie?
I don't know if this has been said because I had to step away for a second, but isn't this really the ego versus the Holy Spirit? I mean, it's just another way of saying my littleness is my identification with my ego and my idols and all of that, and my magnitude is joining with the Holy Spirit.
It is, Susie, you're right. We would say that those points of view, the ego or the Holy Spirit, have dozens of attributes that go with each one of them. Misery versus happiness, and it goes on and on and on. This is one of the attributes. Looking at life through little tiny expectations. Don't really expect to be, I'll be content with what little I have. This is one of the attributes. I find it to be one, I'm speaking for myself here, that I can quickly identify with. It's not abstract. Like I get it right away. Yeah, that was just my littleness. And therefore, when it arises, when I recognize that I'm thinking little, and I put it in those terms, it's just really easy to say, oh, that was just my littleness, without getting all wrapped up in the nature of the mistake or the.
Yeah, like every thought has a belief behind it, right? So yeah, I could have a little thought like, oh, I'm not good enough or whatever, I suck, whatever. That's my littleness. Okay, I got it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes, you're welcome.
I asked you earlier, would you be hostage to the ego or host to God? Let this question be asked you by the Holy Spirit every time you make a decision. For every decision you make does answer this and invites sorrow or joy accordingly. When God gave himself to you in your creation, he established you as host to him forever. He has not left you, and you have not left him. All your attempts to deny his magnitude and make his son hostage to the ego cannot make little whom God has joined with him. Every decision you make is for heaven or for hell and brings you the awareness of what you decided for.
So the focus here clearly is that all our decisions are impacted by this frame of reference. And I need to speak about that for a minute, because this is a very practical course. So when we say every decision, let's say you're sitting down to a meal and there's bread and soup and salad. Does it mean we have to ask the Holy Spirit which one do we eat first? No, these are, that would be impractical to become so preoccupied with those matters that are really personal preference. But surely matters that concern your life, the people in your life, the relationships that are struggling with, attitudes you might have towards other people, towards the world. Surely all of those are fair game. And as you more and more turn those major issues over to the guidance of the Holy Spirit, there become fewer and fewer things which are still being held back privately. And then you can work on down the list to things that you might not have thought worthy of bringing to the attention of the Holy Spirit earlier. So be practical here and know that all decisions you make are fair game. Nothing is off the plate here. Every decision that you make that has an impact on your learning and your growing and your forgiving and your peace, every one of those will either bring you a sense of peace or will be the opposite of that, will be a denial of your peace. David, you had your hand up. Sorry. You're muted.
And I love how the book, the course, says the same thing in different words over and over. And this one really jumped out at me. Littleness versus magnitude. Hell versus heaven. And it says it in this paragraph. Every decision you make is for heaven, magnitude, or for hell, littleness.
Mm-hmm.
That's all.
Yeah, and I tried to understand this. I guess it's because it just matters to me. I want to understand how this works, and it really is. Every time you use your mind to choose, you're either using it from the little side of your identification or from the side that identifies with magnitude and the Holy Spirit. So literally, it's what part of yourself do you bring to the choice? And we're being encouraged to be vigilant, to remembering to bring our greater self to it. And so then when we get into traffic and a person takes much longer than we thought they would ever need, then we just bring that part of ourselves to it and just say, well, we're just going to be here another minute.
The Holy Spirit can hold your magnitude clean of all littleness, clearly and in perfect safety in your mind, untouched by every little gift the world of littleness would offer you. But for this, you cannot side against him in what he wills for you. Decide for God through him. For littleness and the belief that you can be content with littleness are decisions you make about yourself. The power and the glory that lie in you from God are for all who, like you, perceive themselves as little and believe that littleness can be blown up into a sense of magnitude that can content them. Neither give littleness nor accept it. All honor is due the host of God. Your littleness deceives you, but your magnitude is of him who dwells in you and in whom you dwell. Touch no one, then, with littleness in the name of Christ, eternal host unto his Father.
So we should also talk about what littleness and magnitude are not. And this happens frequently when someone who believes themselves to be little inflates their ego, puffs themselves up, and pretends to be great. Okay, so this is not guided by the Holy Spirit. This is an ego attempt to blow up into a sense of magnitude for appearance purposes, to try to convince others and to fool oneself. This is not what the magnitude of the Holy Spirit is. This is what I call puffery. Remember, there's that fish that when threatened has the ability to expand its body. Maybe it's called blowfish, or Kim would know. So all this is a pretension, which does not require and certainly is not involve the Holy Spirit at all. So we are talking here when we talk about magnitude, not just an ego attempt to appear not little, but truly a shift of mind, a change of source that comes from the source of all magnitude through the Holy Spirit to us. Pufferfish. That's it. Pufferfish. So we're not talking about we're not suggesting you become a pufferfish. Yes. Noel?
The opposite of that maybe is a sense of false humility. Oh, little me. Oh, not really. I couldn't.
It is, and it's not. You're exactly on there, Noel. It's not focused on today and this reading so much, but to view yourself as less than others. So you're talking about the opposite direction, where I feel myself unworthy, inferior, and less than others, is the same error, only directed differently. And so that'll be taken up and referred to in other sections as well. Okay, so it's not touch. So then don't allow a pretension of puffery to substitute. Don't allow that to enter into your encounters. I guess this section was originally written in December.
In this season, Christmas, which celebrates the birth of holiness into this world, join with me who decided for holiness for you. It is our task together to restore the awareness of magnitude to the host whom God appointed for himself. It is beyond all your littleness to give the gift of God, but not beyond you. For God would give himself through you. He reaches from you to everyone and beyond everyone to his son's creations, but without leaving you. Far beyond your little world, but still in you, he extends forever. Yet he brings all his extensions to you as host to him.
So remember, we're reading in the chapter, The Holy Instant. What does any of this have to do with the Holy Instant? Well, the Holy Instant is an experience of the source of magnitude. Littleness And the added a fixed mindset towards littleness is a barrier to experiencing the holy instant. It's the opposite of that. Truth, magnitude, is to allow the gifts of God to function through you. They are not of you, but they function through you. And in miracles, in a holy instant, function through you and reach out to others. So this is a part of a grander plan to extend the power of creation, the power of love through individuals to others. So this very much has to do with removing the obstacles to the awareness of holy instant, because both of them cannot be practiced at the same time. You cannot practice the holy instant and at the same time think of either yourself or the other person as being littler, as being little. So it definitely impacts our view of each other. David?
Is it a sacrifice to leave littleness behind and wander not in vain? It is not sacrifice to wake to glory, but it is sacrifice to accept anything less than glory. Learn that you must be worthy of the Prince of Peace, born in you in honor of him whose host you are. You know not what love means because you have sought to purchase it with little gifts, thus valuing it too little to understand its magnitude. Love is not little, and love dwells in you, for you are host to him. Before the greatness that lives in you, your poor appreciation of yourself and all the little offerings you give slip into nothingness.
Mm-hmm. So we have a new way of thinking in terms of what does it mean to sacrifice? To sacrifice is to accept anything less than the gifts that God has given us. That is a sacrifice. To believe yourself little is a sacrifice of the gifts that you have, of your worth. Your sense of self-worth is sacrificed in the name of littleness. This touches on a theme that will be taken up in the rest of the chapter, which is, what does it mean to love? What is the meaning of love? By the way, we're not going to try to find a quick and easy answer to that. So we're going to think in terms of what is the meaning of love throughout all of creation? Not what does it mean just to you? What words would you use? But what does it mean to creation? What is the meaning of love? Well, you do not know what love means because it cannot be understood in littleness. You can't remember, if you believe in littleness, you identify with it and see it as affecting what you are, and therefore in that little outlook you cannot understand what love means. And by the way, we will find an answer for this by the end of Monday's class, which is section 15.5. So we'll get to that later, so we'll let it dangle right now. In terms of creation, what does love mean? Well, we can't find the answer through littleness. And I'm ad-libbing here. Any attempt to pretend you know what love means while believing yourself to be little is a form of puffery. Oh, I'll tell you what love is. From a little point of view, is merely pretending. Here we go.
Holy child of God, when will you learn that only holiness can content you and give you peace? Remember that you learn not for yourself alone, no more than I did. It is because I learned for you that you can learn of me. I would but teach you what is yours, so that together we can replace the shabby littleness that binds the host of God to guilt and weakness with the glad awareness of the glory that is in him. My birth in you is your awakening to grandeur. Welcome me not into a manger, but into the altar to holiness, where holiness abides in perfect peace. My kingdom is not of this world, because it is in you, and you are of your Father. Let us join in honoring you, who must remain forever beyond littleness.
So this is a very direct communication, very straightforward. The antidote to littleness is the recognition that holiness is part of your nature, part of your being, and only that can make you happy. So here we have a simple formula from Course in Miracles for happiness. Happiness can only be achieved through peace and the recognition of your truth, of your being, which is holy. And that this recognition of the truth of your being is not something that you do exclusively or separately from the recognition of everyone else. This recognition includes all of creation and therefore becomes all-inclusive. It becomes part of a totality, which is what magnitude is. Magnitude is a frame of reference, a viewpoint, which recognizes that all creation has a common source, a common function, and properties that it shares together. So we're talking about a huge change from a shabby little sense of self to this recognition of holiness and glory. How are we to do such thing? Well, we need to be taught. The framework in the Course in Miracles is it's a course, it's a curriculum. It involves unlearning of littleness and learning of magnitude. But you don't have to do that learning on your own. We turn towards our teacher. I would teach you what is yours, so together we can replace littleness. Yeah. Felicia?
Okay. So I'm not sure how to word this, so just bear with me. So wouldn't the littleness simply be replaced once we realize that we are one with God and ask for guidance from the Holy Spirit, which resides within us, and be open to that instead of connecting with our ego? Like when we have an ego thought, dismiss it and go immediately to the Holy Spirit and be guided that way. Wouldn't do you know what I'm trying to ask?
I do. I think I do. And there are steps along the way here, Felicia, for sure. It's
Right.
more than one step. And
Like,
letting
no.
go of littleness, that includes the way we view others, is certainly begins there. A willingness to let go of viewing yourself or others through little eyes.
Right.
And
Like not accepting them as a form, but seeing that they are also not really real, not really a form, that they're really in reality with God.
that they're really a holy child of God as well.
And
Yeah.
not seeing as just the form that they are.
Right. So that letting go allows the correction in our mind that they are a holy child of God, that they were created just as we were. And in that shift comes with it the entire set of gifts that magnitude offers. And the another way of addressing, I think, what you were asking for, Felicia, is within the experience of the holy instant, which is what this entire chapter is about. So I would say stay tuned. We're going to dive into exactly what does that mean? How is that experienced? What's our part in that process? Kim?
So I love this, though, what Felicia's saying, what you're saying, and what we're reading here, because the way that this presents for me is the Holy Spirit will give me a direction. And because of littleness, I will immediately start putting up barriers as to why I cannot follow that direction. So it's not that I'm not hearing, I'm hearing, but because of littleness, I'll say, for an example, oh, I can't do that. I don't have my doctorate. Oh, I can't do that. I don't have my master's in social work. Whereas the Holy Spirit is giving me clear direction, and the littleness is causing me to put up barriers that are not necessary. In other words, the striving. It says here, we do not need to strive. When the Holy Spirit gives us a direction, we just need to stay the course, right? Stay the course and go with it and not create. What is the course called? These things, when we put up those things, are they trinkets or gifts or whatever the course says? But I love where this is going because it brings it full circle for me here. Thank you.
Yeah, I think you're referring to obstacles or barriers. Yeah. No, very good. Thank you, Kim. Susie?
Yeah, we have the, I'll say I, but we have these mental habits of, that's what they really are. They're my mental habits, my blocks, and like I said before, believe, like behind every thought I have is a belief about myself. So I have to constantly be witnessing and watching my thoughts. Because some of my thoughts have a belief of littleness. And if I can recognize that and be really honest and then take it to the Holy Spirit and say, well, that's not true. I can have her help heal me. But I have to, this is so amazing, like Kim just said, so we can be aware of what our little thoughts are. Because the only way we can get rid of them, right, is to be aware of them, bring them, from the darkness to the light, to the Holy Spirit. So really, I really love this. I have to watch my thoughts. And my,
Yeah, sorry. Yeah,
no,
that's you done?
yes.
That's really helpful what you said, because the practice of this is one by one identifying the thoughts that we've become so habitual that reinforce our littleness, and one by one offering them up to the Holy Spirit and say, that no longer that's a barrier to my awareness of the truth, and I'm willing to let it go one by one. And each of us has our own narrative of how we narrate our littleness, and the form of that narrative doesn't really matter. But to us, it seems to be really important. That what matters is our willingness to set it aside and move forward into the present moment. Sandra?
Yeah, it seems to me this is requiring of me that I stop seeing bodies, which is not easy to do, and that I don't believe in victimization, which is not easy to do in this world. So I'm working on it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think you're right. In a world that teaches these things, it is not straightforward, easy to choose otherwise. This is where it takes a strong willingness to remain vigilant and remember these things.
My will determines my perception, and boy, I'm working, doing a lot of work. I wish it was more fun, but I'm doing a lot of work. I'm complete.
Mm-hmm. The letting go feels like a loss. Many people have identified with this. I remember Christoph saying, I feel like I'm dying. I feel like all that I've built my self around is falling off, decaying and dying. And there's a new me that's emerging. So the letting go tends to be viewed through the ego's eyes as death, as literally as a type of psychological spiritual death. And it is. It's the end of the ego as we know it. Susie?
Yeah, it's like the St. Francis prayer. We are dying to our old self and we're being reborn to a different way of thinking. A lot of this lesson, I give everything the meaning that it has for me, keeps coming up for me because I have given all my littleness. Oh, I can't do it. Who told me that? Or, oh, blah, blah, who told me all of that? I've given it all the meaning that it has for me. So I don't know, that lesson just keeps coming up for me.
I'm with you there, Susie. I find that one of the most useful things. What does this mean? It means whatever I made it to mean. And if I'm willing to let go of that, then it doesn't mean anything at all. Yeah. No, when you get to that, that's when you can begin to laugh. You can say, it doesn't really mean anything at all. I puffed it up to have all this meaning, and in truth, it has no meaning whatsoever. Noelle?
It's also letting go of whatever part of my story has come up as part of that littleness. And that too is a kind of dying to the story I've always held about myself, my self-perceptions. So it is hard to let all of that go. What's left then, you ask? What's my identity? And to me, I have to substitute what the Holy Spirit says about my true identity.
As a matter of fact, what you're referring to, Noel, I think is one of the greatest fears, and that is letting go of my old narrative. Then what's left of me? Well, who am I if I can't hang on to what I've already convinced myself I am, if I let go of that, then what? And the Course says it's vital that we have something that we can hold on to, that we can trust and believe in, which is the Holy Spirit's view of us, which is really right here, holy child of God. When will you learn that you are holy and only holiness can content you? To hang on to that is something worthy of replacing our old narrative. And that's what makes it something we can look forward to rather than dread the loss of our littleness. Felicia?
Okay, right quick, so we can move on. But I think while I was trying to ask that question and I just didn't come out right, but anyway, or I didn't feel like it did, is because I was hostage to the ego for so much time. But anyway, and now it's like no more sacrifice, because I don't want to accept anything less than glory, but and I'm trying to fast forward into the holiness. It's like, okay, let's get moving here. So I just wanted to throw that out there, but I'm just glad to be here. And thanks for listening to me.
Oh, thank you. I'm writing this down. I want to fast forward into the holy instant. I like it. We will talk about that. Like, how much time between where this moment and my experience, genuine experience of the holy instant, how much time does it take? How do I make it happen now? All right, you guys, I learned so much here. Thank you for all your comments.
Decide with me who has decided to abide with you. I will as my Father wills, knowing his will is constant and at peace forever with itself. You will be content with nothing but his will. Accept no less, remembering that everything I learned is yours. What my Father loves, I love as he does, and I can no more accept it as what it is not. I'm going to read this again. What my Father loves, I love as he does, and I can no more accept it as what it is not than he can, and no more can you. When you have learned to accept what you are, you will make no more gifts to offer to yourself, for you will know you are complete, in need of nothing, and unable to accept anything for yourself, but you will gladly give, having received. The host of God needs not seek to find anything.
Mm-hmm. So the notion here is that this path from where we believe ourselves to be right now, struggling and learning and stuck partly in littleness and wanting the holy instant, the path forward has already been carved out, laid out, the path to peace and contentment. You are not needed to rediscover a new path. And beware, the ego will try to do that, try to create a new path. People are doing that all the time, trying to sell you on a new path. The path has already been found. What you need to do is join with the teacher of the path and spend less time trying to forge your own path, trying to figure out what will make you happy, what will make you content. what will make you be at peace. There is a line here that is so important. Here it is. When you have learned, all this is about accepting the truth of your being, I am as God created me. When you have learned to accept what you are, so we're talking about you've now acquired the understanding and acceptance of what you are, you will make no more gifts to offer to yourself. You won't feel needy and lacking and missing on love and peace, because you will have acquired a sense of your own peace and contentment. You will know you are complete. That's the line. You will know you are complete, in need of nothing, and unable to accept anything for yourself, but you'll gladly give, having received. So the idea here is of you being a complete being. Magnitude is a recognition of your completion, is a recognition that you are as God created you. You are whole, complete, and are integrated part of all creation. That there is nothing that is missing from your spiritual being. So this is true right now and always has been true. There's nothing missing from your spiritual being. What changes is you will have learned to accept that as the truth, that there's nothing missing from my spiritual being, that I'm complete, that you need nothing is missing spiritually, that you have everything. Therefore, you are able to gladly give, having received. So this is an aspect that is apparent in the holy instant. In the holy instant, it's a moment of awareness of completion, that nothing is missing, that all that is needed is available right now for and can be shared with those in your immediate presence. So it's the idea of completion. We will come back to this again and again. Magnitude, completion, creation of as the creator formed you are all the same idea. And the opposite of that is the counter narrative, is that you are flawed, missing, incomplete, needy, inadequate, little, et cetera, et cetera. Those are the ideas we need to apply our vigilance against, not in this world, particularly, not going back to those ideas and believing in that narrative. For that is what interferes with our awareness of what we truly are. I'm going to do 2 paragraphs this next slide.
If you are wholly willing to leave salvation to the plan of God and unwilling to attempt to grasp for peace yourself, salvation will be given you. Yet think not you can substitute your plan for his. Rather, join with me in his, that we may release all those who would be bound, proclaiming together that the Son of God is host to him. Thus will we let no one forget what you would remember, and thus will you remember it. Call forth in everyone only the remembrance of God and of the heaven that is in him. For where you would have your brother be, there will you think you are. Hear not his appeal to hell and littleness, but only his call for heaven and greatness. Forget not that his call is yours, and answer him with me. God's power is forever on the side of his host, for it protects only the peace in which he dwells. Lay not littleness before his holy altar, which rises above the stars and reaches even to heaven because of what is given it.
Mm-hmm. So this is the last part of the reading, but the most important idea. So I really thank you for hanging in there until now. Please bear with me here. There's two ways to approach this state of who you truly are. Let's talk about approaching it from our little self first, because that's basically the mistake we've been making, is trying to approach the holy instant magnitude from a little point of view. What it means, it's an attempt to grasp for peace yourself. It's a belief that you have not peace, that you're missing these things, and deeply in need of them, that you're trying to grasp for them just to complete yourself. This is the common point of view. All right, so this is familiar to us all. That's approaching magnitude out of the mind of a missing, lacking, limited self. All right, now let's contrast that with coming at this from the Holy Spirit's point of view, where everything is already complete, where peace is a part of your being, where you have learned to accept the truth of yourself. From that state, nothing is needed. You've already received and are aware of having these things and are ready to give them, so that you call forth in everyone else only the remembrance of God and of heaven that is already present. It's a different approach, that it's an approach that requires you partner up with the Holy Spirit and enter into her perspective, her frame of reference, and from there know that you already have all these gifts, that you're not lacking in them, looking to find them. They're already here, and they always have been. The only thing that changes is your awareness of these things, your recognition, your recognition, your remembering of these things. And so instead of attempting to grasp for peace, feeling so needy, instead we call it forth. We declare it into the moment. This moment, heaven's gifts are here right now. This moment is a moment of holy instant. So I think of this as a psychological spiritual shift out of a little mindset, which you cannot work your way up to the Holy Spirit from the assumptions of the little mindset. All you can do is relinquish the little mindset and accept, make room in your awareness for the Holy Spirit's mindset. And from there, everything is easy. And so, Susie, it's not difficult. It's just very different from the way that our past has taught us. The answers are already deep within, and the perspective. Felicia talked about fast forwarding into the holy instant. Felicia, this is how we do it. It's by not believing that it's missing. It's by the recognition that it's here and now. To authentically feel and realize these things at first might feel pretentious until it doesn't. Until you just have, until your faith rises to the level that it convinces your mind. We talk about it as a shift of power out of the mindset of the ego and into the mindset of the Holy Spirit. It's a shift in the balance of power, and then it becomes very easy. Kim?
So I just want to make sure that I'm getting this. I think that I am. So here's what I'm thinking. That in the calling forth of peace, then for me, I'm having to notice what I'm noticing. And then I'm also having to be aware of what I'm speaking. So in other words, I'm noticing that my spoken words are very important here in calling forth peace. For an example, the other day I said something like, I have to be really careful with that, not realizing that I was speaking out of fear instead of faith, right?
Good example.
Yeah. And so am I on the right track with this here?
You are.
Okay.
And particularly in what the example you just gave, I have to be careful, represents old little thinking. And we need to recognize when we're doing that and say, that isn't the mindset that I'm coming from anymore. Even though I've said it 1,000 times, I'm now going to let that go and move forward. And Kim, there probably are other verbal expressions that all of us have practiced unconsciously that reinforce littleness. And one by one, we recognize them and say that no longer serves who I now know myself to be. I'm letting that go and correct and allowing the Holy Spirit to gently and lovely correct us. Very, really good. That's exactly what it looks like. Not allowing past little ways of communicating and thinking to be perpetuated, to be vigilant against them. Thank you, Kim. Noelle?
It takes courage to leap and know the spiritual net will appear.
It does. And I had an existential crisis years ago, Noelle, around just that, about leaping out of what I thought was my safe zone, the little prison cell I had made for myself, felt at least familiar, and leaping into an unknown. And what I realized, Noelle, of all the beings in the universe that I could trust, I can trust the Holy Spirit more than I trust myself. She consistently shows up for healing and for good far more than I have. And so it comes down to, you want to trust yourself or trust the Holy Spirit? And once I saw it from that lens, it kind of became easy. I'm going to live by faith and not live by my own path, my own guidance. Susie?
Yeah, it just dawned on me, when when you know. So when I go to play golf, I usually bring my littleness with me and I'm hostage to that. So I understand now when I go to play golf, I need to bring the Holy Spirit with me, and not my littleness. And I'll have a completely different experience if I do that, because all my beliefs are in my littleness. Oh, I can't do it. I'm not good enough, blah, 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 all that, those stories. So I got to bring the Holy Spirit with me when I go do things that bring up littleness feelings for me in this world. Yeah, it's a good one.
Mm-hmm.
He's my companion,
Mm-hmm.
not Susie.
I really like that. So Kim spoke about the language that she used to reinforce her littleness. Susie referred to what I'll call an attitude. Even before you arrive at the golf course, you got this view of attitude, and these things become habits that go unquestioned. And we're just saying they no longer serve our view of magnitude and of glory. They serve littleness very well, but I'm going to be vigilant against the littleness. And so catching these things, that's how we heal. Just what Kim and Susie just illustrated, catching ourselves there and saying, no, not this time. Sandra?
The lesson today is, and God herself will wipe away my tears. And having experienced what the world would call victimization, which there's in the real world, there's no such thing. It's good to, sometimes I have issues with trusting other humans. And so it's such a beautiful lesson that God herself will wipe away my tears, that I have a direct, it doesn't matter. It's not necessary. Jonica might be able to wipe away my tears, but I got God directly. So it's it's a beautiful thing.
It is. It is indeed. Well, that's all the reading we're going to do today. That was quite a journey in itself. Your contributions and examples and share and bearing of your own soul here really gives great significance to our experience together as a group. So I want to thank you all for that. This is one step in a series of steps to make the holy instant seem natural and available to us at all times. So if I expect that the type of catches that Kim and Sandra and Susie and others Felicia have noticed today, that you'll make that a regular part of your practice so that you're vigilant against littleness and you not allow that to continue on, not pretend that you can be content and happy in little thinking, and know that the minute you're willing to recognize those things, that's a moment of healing right there. And so it's really a welcoming of healing where before we might have just repeated the same old and wanted healing, but kept repeating the same old. And now this is a release from old patterns and stepping into the new. It's really a powerful process. I thank you for being on the path. It's a delight and an honor to share this together. Namaste.
Thank you, Jonica. Thank you.
Namaste, everybody.
Namaste.
You
Thank
guys too.
so
Have a beautiful
for being
day.
Day. Bye, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.